Good evening, dear participants. I would like to welcome you on behalf of the European Union of Yoga, this organization that was founded in 1971 by Gerard Blitz and André van Lisbeth. Since then, it has evolved. Now there are 22 or 23 federations member of this organization. It organizes an important series of events that you are just attending right now, the spirituality program that goes usually from October till the end of June. But apart from that, traditionally, it organizes a quite well-known popular congress in Switzerland in Zinal that takes place every year in August. The theme of the 2025 Congress is Abhyasa and Vairagya, two pillars of the yogic transformation. The online series of spirituality program has a couple of different topics this year. It's actually three: yoga and mental health, dharma and karma and yoga. These lectures and workshops are for free. You just have to register. If you register and don't have the time to attend, I know now you are here, but for any next occurrence, it's good to know that you would receive the links to the recordings once it has been processed, but only if you register. Maybe a closing remark that if you consider the session worth a little donation, you can do so using the button on the website of the European Union of Yoga. Now let me present you today's speaker, who is Geza Timcak. He is representing the Slovak Yoga Association. He started practicing yoga very long ago, around 1958, and he keeps teaching yoga since then, since 50 years. And he has been teaching yoga in many different countries, in India, in Taiwan, in Israel, and in many countries of Europe. His topic today is going to be a really interesting one, a one that you do not hear too often about. He is going to teach us the sadhana that can lead you to know the landscape between the last two chakras, the Ajna and the Sahasrara. So I wish you that you enjoy today's presentation, and please keep your questions to the very end of the session. If they are not too urgent, this would be the preferable way of keeping them. And now I would like to give the floor to our presenter, Geza Timcak, and I wish you the best of luck. And enjoy the session.
Thank you very much. It is really very nice to be introduced in such a global manner. This presentation actually deals with some of the areas of yogic training which are not so much discussed about. And so some of the early responses to this presentation was that, oh yes, how do we know that these things are real? Now, yes, there is a absolute question. Is the world knowable? Is the path of yoga always in a testable in a sense that we actually know where we are, what we are experiencing? And the answer is that yes. If you look at it from our usual standpoint, beyond this crossing point, which is called samadhi or samyama or any other appropriate name, then yes. But there is also a point where we have to leave behind every faculty of our mind, which is actually the one which presents both the advantages and the obstacles in our progression. So it may also be interesting to devote a couple of words. Okay, could we avoid giving reality to that which is unreal? This is a question which was given to Michael James, who is a well-known speaker for the path of self-inquiry of Ramana Maharshi. And when he was asked that, okay, that how can we achieve it? His answer is simple, but okay, as long as your attention is turned outward, and this outward may also mean inwards in the usual sense. So I can examine the state of my mind. I don't look at outside, but I look inside. But this is not really the inside which he is speaking about. But you see, it would be very interesting to know that how many people are really able to do this final step, and why? Because it opens up a perspective from which we cannot bring back any information. Yes, of course, if we return from this state, then ourselves are changed. So we are changed to the degree that our life references, the goals of life, the way how we like to live our life now on, would definitely change. But there is no way how to transfer the information from this one reality to the subjective reality in which we live. So there are only tentative descriptions of this state, which is based on the remembrance of what actually, how could I describe that which I cannot really describe? After saying that, then we still have to acknowledge that no one who is not prepared sufficiently, that means he doesn't have the possibility to live a life where he doesn't create unnecessarily a lot of, let's call it karma, or let's call it debts towards the surrounding people, towards anyone, not causing any trouble to anyone, very kind to anyone. So he's the model example of the yogic human, that a person who is not really prepared would achieve this state, because I believe that, not only I believe, but reports about occasions when it accidentally happened, that the person is not able to bear this state. So he cannot integrate the experience, because usually we integrate the experience when we understand it. So if I have a pain in my leg, I look at the leg and make a self-diagnosis. Okay, I stepped on something, so this is why it's painful. But if the pain is for unknown reason, I cannot discover, the physicians cannot discover, then I am upset because I don't know the reason. Whereas in case of life, so to say, life after samadhi, and I wish every of the listeners and onlookers would have this experience, would happen to us, then it should happen at a point when we are really prepared. So the Indian philosophy is relatively generous, because it says, okay, what you don't manage one life, there's still a lot of lives ahead of you. And sooner or later, if you are working steadily, then you will come to a point when it may happen, and it will definitely happen. Yes, but of course, all those who invest a lot of energy, attention, they modify their life so that they can approach this point where the samadhi is expectable, it's never assured, but expectable, then they would need a little bit more. And especially the most important thing is that, okay, what are the steps which bar me from getting a step higher? And this presentation may bring some answer to this natural question. First of all, now, you know, are chakras real or not? I return back to this question. In a way, yes. In a way, no. As we all know, Motoyama was a person who devoted his nearly whole life for the effort to get some histological proof that this is the place where this and that chakra is situated. But not everyone was convinced, because the chakras are not physical entities. You know, as we will see later on, the human structure, according to the yogic model, has 5 components. And these 5 components are mutually immersed, and they are working in such a way that it gives us the image and perception of the world as we usually have it. So, however, if we start meditating, then we may be able to perceive not only the Annamaya Kosha, which is this nice body, which is also always very nice because it enables us to live here. You know, there is a 6th century Christian manuscript which was discovered in 1920s in China. It's called the Jesus Sutras. So, you know, there are periods when the Christianity was, I mean, there was sooner a bishopry in Kathmandu than a Buddhist mission there. So, you know, all the religions expand and contract in their effect. And in this Jesus Sutra, it is said that, look, do everything what you can for ameliorating your karma, because once you leave this body, this possibility is no longer available. Yeah, that's a nice reminder. So we can do whatever we can whilst we are in this physical body, and try whatever we can so that we develop the capacity to handle, so to say, high energy situations or experience which we will talk about today. But the higher we go, our perception of the world starts changing. There is an artist, Alexis Gray, in the United States. He created a series of paintings, the Chapel of Mirrors, and there you can see in his perception that the moment you are actually withdrawing your attention from your body, you start perceiving the energy system, and there you can see the chakras. So, of course, who has never had an experience related to the chakras, he can only guess, yes, it may be true, it might be not true. And if you look at this 3rd image, you see that, oh, even the chakras are suddenly disappearing, and only the energy fields which are actually defining our frame, those are visible. So yes, the chakras is actually real and unreal. Now, you know, yoga is a little bit like a mountaineering in its most difficult form. There is a number of 8,000, 7,000, 6,000 meter high mountains. But even though there are ways that you are carried up to the top of the mountain, you make a couple of photos at the top, and then you are carried down. But definitely you will not have this feeling if you climb that alone or with the help of some people. Now, you know, this being carried up is the very rare case that you meet a competent yoga teacher who is not a yoga teacher, he's a yogi, and he helps you to detach yourself from this frame which otherwise defines our worldview and world perception. So what do we know? What do we need? Well, there is a saying that the sword of the discrimination is the one which can help us. And why is it a sword? Because sometimes if we would like to get rid of some of our properties, personality properties, you have to have a very, very strong motivation to really abandon them. And it is really not an easy work. So now slowly we get to the actual point of the presentation. And that means that before we start speaking about the chakras and nadis, then we have to define them. So one thing which we have to define is, yes, we have already spoken about the chakras are the hubs of some life processes. So chakras are very complex. They are actually distributing tattvas, they are distributing pranas, distributing information, and they're very vital part of our system, and we will see why. Now, when we speak about, okay, distribution of tattva, so what is the tattva? The sooner, the easier way how to define the tattva is that it is a sort of proto-matter. What is proto-matter? It means that it's not manifested in the material form, but it is containing every building energy and building form needed for making all what we perceive visible and perceptible. Okay. Now, these qualities are distributed always permanently into our 5 koshas. Okay, what are the koshas? As we said earlier, we have 5 koshas in this yogic model, and there is plus what is called the indriyas, or the senses, inner senses, outer senses, and then we have the annamaya kosha, which is the body. Then we have the pranamaya kosha, which is actually containing everything which relates to energy. And I'm sure you are known that there are 5 main types of energy, the prana, apana, and so on. And prana, 5 not so vital. And some schools say that there are 4 more or 5 more of the pranas. That doesn't really have to concern us very much. But we have to know that if we want to move our arm, we see a physical movement, but from our personality came an impulse, okay, you stretch out your arm, and it is getting translated through the energy information. Yet what is to happen? This guy wants to stretch his arm. It's not an easy process. If you have to relearn it, you see it's not so easy. So it's a complex problem, and its patron is the pranamaya kosha. Similarly, all the other energy-related processes, and we have to say what is not energy-related, are tied to this pranamaya kosha. Then you have the manomaya kosha. Now, what is the manomaya kosha? Now, manomaya kosha is the, so to say, primary mind, sometimes called the discursive mind. So, and what does it do? It gets the information from the indriyas, which are the senses. Then it pre-processes the information, then gets back to the memory and selects everything which is relevant to it. For example, I walk on the street and see a face. But it's one thing that I see a face, but unless my ahamkar doesn't look back and take out, oh yes, this is this and this person. I know him very well, of course. So happy that I have met this person. And then before you take a decision so that you know what to do, to turn away or to turn towards that person, it very quickly, in microseconds, put this information bundle into the Vijnanamaya kosha, which evaluates it, and before taking final decisions, it gets an information from the ananda kosha, which says, if you meet this person, it may be very pleasant or maybe very unpleasant. So it fits into the Vijnana kosha, and the Vijnana kosha will suggest you. Well, you see, perhaps this is a good point that now you can resolve some of the unresolved points between you and this person, and so that you undergo this meeting with hope that it will solve something, even though the ananda kosha tells you that the pleasantness of the whole situation may not be the ultimate. So, and now we have the ananda kosha, which is a wonderful, really a wonderful part of the whole system, not only because it communicates, first of all, to everyone when you wake up in the morning, santosha. Santosha is a thing, you know, in the niyamas, Patanjali mentions it, that santosha is something which is very important. Because if you wake up in the morning and say, oh, what a horror, again a day, oh, yes. And whether it is sunny, oh, yes, we didn't have any rain for the last month, so it shouldn't rain. If it's rainy, oh, I haven't seen the sun for so long, it should rain. So if you wake up in the mood of santosha, then you are happy whether you are waking to a rainy day or sunny day, because you know that you are there. Your whole day, at least this is what we hope, is at your disposal, and that you can make this one day a fulfilling day. You can cross so many obstacles or have so many joyful moments. So this is also a work of the ananda kosha. The ananda kosha cannot directly communicate ananda, with one exception. The yogic tradition says that during the sleepless, deep sleep, the ananda kosha opens up the gates to the ananda, which means that you are immersed into this Satchit Ananda, but it lasts only that long as you are in that state. If you are exiting from the state, then the gates close. And however, when you wake up, you may have the feeling that, oh, I'm so well rested. I slept very well. Now, the disadvantage is that you cannot make this a conscious step up to the point when you actually reached samadhi. So it is every day it is presented to us in a form of a promise. Yes, if you are successful in your endeavor, be sure this state becomes available even at your usual state of mind, and you can then experience, and then perhaps you can try to relate how it is, what it gives to a human being. So apart from that, it assesses the situations and also gives a sort of coefficient of pleasantness to every issue which the Vijnana kosha is expected to solve. So 5 koshas is in a couple of sentences. Now the nadis. The nadis, what you see at the right end, this is a, well, I would not be that sure that actually, apart from the most important ones, that their course is 100% well imaged. But one is sure that the main ones are perfectly well shown. And they are the information highways or local roads which connect the Annamaya kosha to the Pranamaya kosha to the Manomaya kosha to Vijnanamaya kosha, and so on. Now, the most important nadi is the Sushumna. Again, the Sushumna is not so easy concept because, it behaves in different situations in different manner. I remember once we have been, I've been at the Athens Technical University for some time, and that time I came to know a Greek yoga teacher, Pavlos Asanagas, and he was sort of very grounded person. So asanas was the main subject of his perception of yoga. And there was a meeting with Nirmala Devi, you know, the founder of Sahaja Yoga. And when we entered, then she started to play with the microphone, sort of like a sort of windy sound, and suddenly everyone has experienced like if a vacuum cleaner was fixed at the top of the head. And after that was the presentation and so on. So it ended, and all the pupils of Pavlos were asking, Pavlos, how is it possible? You didn't tell us that this may happen. There was no physical reason, and we all felt it. And he said very wisely, okay, we will examine it. I'm just mentioning this, that sometimes the Kundalini and the Sushumna is manifesting in a simple and very well perceptible way. But there are other instances when it is manifesting in a very strong way, very fiery way, in the sense that it really breaks every obstacle in the Sushumna and tries to reach the top, the Sahasrara. Now, yes, even if it manifests in this way, it doesn't mean that you are over. No, because it usually stops at some point. Why? Because the obstacles above are too difficult to move, and it's not sure. Then it will motivate you on the yogic path if instead of very nice feelings, suddenly you experience a little bit difficult feelings. Now, what to understand from this? Well, you know, everyone, whether willingly or unwillingly, creating life situations which are not so optimal. Now we think, okay, it's over. You may also ask the other person, please, I apologize. I didn't want to tell this one in this way. But yes, you already made it, and it makes a block. For example, on the emotional side of your system. And if there is too much of this type of experience, then if it would push through, then the actual load of the situation on the body and mind will be too big. So it's not certain that one will survive. There are examples for this. There have been books written about that, even if the attention during the essence of the Kundalini through the Sushumna is just shifted to the right, you may even lose your sight, but you can then regain it when you realize what's the problem. So this is not a joke. It's not a sort of thing. Yes, I can manage the computer. I can ask the AI assistant if I don't know what to do. And that's it. That's no big deal. But in this case, really, we have to be prepared. So when we speak about Kundalini, I already indicated some of its properties, but it's just again an energy. And the fortunate thing that the path of the Kundalini in our system is well defined. It is there and no one can take it away. It is situated in a sort of latent way, latent form in the Muladhara, the first chakra. And it waits patiently there. Now, sometimes it may happen that during the dream stage of your sleep, suddenly you feel sort of that you are somewhere in Tibet or in India in an ashram high, and that you have feeling that suddenly you are taken up to the sky and go up high in the universe, and then suddenly you realize, oh, it's nice that I'm here, but how will I get back? So then comes the construction that, oh, yes. So even in Yoga Nidra, this can happen. And again, I return to that. This is why it is very good if you have a if we have a sort of systematic training. Now, yeah, what is the higher level of existence? It is a simpler level of existence. That means a level of existence which doesn't, for example, require a body to be conscious of itself, his or herself. Now, this is just a, image where you can see that what is in the center. This is the Amspurana, the I. These are the quanta of individualized consciousness. Now, this is also a very interesting point that there is a center which is not a chakra. It doesn't belong to pranama kosha, but it is in every one of us. And now, if we accept this model that, you know, how to say, I've seen a humorous drawing that two fish are flowing in the river, and one of them asks, "Oh, I'm so thirsty. Where can I get a bit of water?" And the other looks, it must be crazy, because the fish is swimming in water. So this is it. So we are actually immersed 100% of time in this absolute consciousness, but we have so many blocks. For example, as we will see later on, our level of purity of tattvas, from which everything which we can see and perceive is built, is now already on the level of Ashuta tattva, which means an impure tattva. Now, this, so in order to keep living beings alive, the creative system had to design a sort of unit in our system, which at every time of the day and night takes the consciousness impulses from this absolute field of consciousness and transforms it to the individual consciousness. So this is the quanta of I. So the repetition is so quick. It's like with the TV or with the movie. It's separate images, but it changes so quick that our eye doesn't and mind doesn't recognize them as separate images, but as one flowing. And this rhythm is actually making us conscious. And the closer we come to not understanding, but not even experiencing, because experience needs someone to experience. But if we go beyond a certain point, that means beyond the point, so we go out with our consciousness, and we merge into this field of universal consciousness, then who would experience what? So it is something which we have to experience. Hopefully we will do it. Now, all this what is depicted here just has one real aim, to make it graphically a little bit more understandable. By the way, if you are interested in this journal, Spirituality Studies.org, there is a number of papers which also elaborates this concept of ananda kosha, the way of the absolute, and so on and so on. Now here we see, for example, on this image, which is now nearly at the center of the visual field, that if we neglect the rest of the chakras, because nowadays if you go to the internet, whichever platform, you get almost infinite number of views, ways how to open your chakras, how to clear your chakras, how to whatever. But you see, the chakras are not a concept which can be opened. I mean, if they would not be opened, at least to a certain degree, we would not be alive, or we would be very, very ill. So what we can do, and this is what I think is important, is to try to have a perception of that functionality of our system. And if we arrive at the Ajna, usually the distance between the Muladhara and the Vishuddha is divided into 5 areas. Every area, and in this respect, every chakra is distributing a special soil, earth type, water type, fire type, air type, and akasha type of tattva is distributing to our whole system. Why? Should it not happen, we will just disappear because there is nothing to keep us visible. So now with the Ajna, this lifts our consciousness to this Ashuddha level of koshas, level of tattvas, which are easier to cross than from the Ashuddha tattva. So we need the lower part of body, that means Vishuddha down to Muladhara, to be alive, yes, but the real, so to say, challenge comes when we go beyond. So this we already covered. So now if we come back to the nadis, because the nadis, some of the nadis end at the point of the Ajna. So the 3 of the 14 important nadis end in the Ajna. So what is above it? Well, the Sushumna is going up to the Sahasrara. And it is having a number of qualities. And, the Indians, especially in the Shatchakra Nirupana, which is a very interesting yogic treatise, which was first translated by author Avalon with the help of the Pandits who were helping him. In fact, the Pandits did the translation, he did the transforming it from an imperfect English to perfect English before publishing it as a book. So how would you interpret that Sushumna is a thing which has a string of blooming white flowers? Now, how to understand it? Well, here, actually, the chakras are called the flowers. Okay, good. Now, what about the Vajra inside her? Well, this is this dynamic energy which, in fact, lies there and waiting for its moment to manifest. So, it stops at the 12-petaled Soma chakra. And so here we came from for the last couple of notes before we enter the actual chakras in question. In the chakras you have very specific mandalas or yantras, and there's a lot of symbolics which we can interpret without that much problem. But there is a male patron and a female patron, even though the male and female is a little bit overstatement, because a patron, a guardian force, or let's call it in whatever way, is the female. I cannot say that she's a female, or the Brahma is he a male? So when we change the perception of our world, and suddenly we can see that many things change. So, for example, if we are to understand that what is it, how to understand the concept of I'm sorry, just have to readjust it a bit. So we don't have a better tool just to say it's a male principle, it's a female principle. So for the male principle, female principle, there is a higher level of structural form and abilities and responsibilities. So I would like just to say that the ones which we see, the Dakini, Muladhara, Dakini, Kakini, Lakini, Sakini, and Hakini, Ajna. Now, there is no more Matrika in Sahasrara, but there is Adya Shakti, which is the highest Shakti, which is highest cosmic structuring force. So it's no longer a patron, because it's not a patron, it is a creative force which is responsible for the whole system which is under it. Yes. Yeah, you can see there that how they are assigned to various tattvas. Now, when we see that Chitrini is lustrous with the luster of the pranava and attainable in yoga by yogis, and that she is subtle as a spider thread and pierces all the lotuses which are placed within the backbone, and is pure intelligence, and is beautiful because of these lotuses which are strung on her, so these flowers. And inside the Chitrini, there is the Brahmana, which extends again from the origin of the note of the Hara, the Swayambhulinga and Muladhara, and please beyond the Adi Deva, Parabindu, which is even beyond the Sahasrara. And the text continues praising, praising and praising, because it shines in the mind of sages. And it is the awakener of pure knowledge. It's embodiment of bliss, the true nature of pure consciousness. So it may be quite motivating that, if it would function like this in me, then all this would become a reality in my case. So, however, there are some obstacles, granted, the character of which we have always spoken. And so we come now to the explanation of the function of the Ajna. So the Ajna is a tool of a buddhi and also of insight. Now, if we want to have the Ajna working properly, we have to support it through lalana, we'll come to it, and through the main nadis. It is also beneficial to have the tattvic chakras to work properly. As already shown below, the Ajna leads to a discovery of unity behind male-female organism. So now we can see one step higher that this distinction, so-called male and female, beyond certain level, it loses its distinction. It would take too long to try to explain why it happened. Why was this distinction appearing in our life? Why is it that suddenly, well, I say suddenly, it doesn't mean that it's just like this, but in the evolution of the humankind, before we reach this bhuloka, this means this level of not so nice existence, it's nice from the point of view that we can have santosha, we can do yoga, we can do other people, we can have the right matrix approach to other people. Yes, but we cannot say that it's so easy to live here, because apart from very, very old times when you could just gather the fruits and eat what was given by nature, you have to work, you have to suffer the stress of the workplace, and so on and so on and so on. So when we come to the intuition, then, like it is on the image on the right, suddenly, symbolically, it is a half male, half female body. That means, okay, now at this level, these differences cease to exist. Now, the Sahasrara is also a tool of the Ahamkara to overstep its individuality and to start perceiving the real Om, the Ishvara, and the Absolute. Now, here again, just a table which will just explain. You see that you have the Shuddha Tattva. This is a sort of original state of existence without getting polluted. How can a Tattva get polluted? Well, we are constantly polluting and healing it, depending on how we lead our life. Pollution means what? If there is a prototype of certain improper approach to life, for example, war, that it makes an imprint. If it happens, it's like a big imprint. And it creates a feeling that, perhaps with this aggression we can solve something. But some of the military historians that told us that the ending of a war is just the beginning of another one, whether it happens immediately or sometimes after. But where did we get this archetypal mode of reaction? Okay, we go to war. We have to overcome this people, that people. And you know, I'm sure you have heard about this World War First incident that during Christmas time, you see the Germans and the British were just positioned one before the other, and suddenly the British put up a white flag, and finally they agreed, okay, so it's Christmas time, so why should we actually fight? And so you see, and then they had a nice Christmas together, they ate together, they drank together, and then suddenly the call for war came again, so they went back. And it was a problem to look to the other. I know it's science, this is that, and he's now the enemy. So it's not easy. So I'm just quoting this example that these imprints in the tattva, which gathers the information and keeps it there, unless we heal it. And when we say, well, this is a global job, it's not a job of an individual, then it becomes heavier and heavier. So we come to the Shuddha Ashuddha Tattva, where already the state of the humankind was such that he was no longer entitled to know all, to might all, to the timelessness, to the ever-fulfilling joyfulness, that there is no need to have any wishes, because every four wishes is fulfilled. So they said, no, unfortunately, these creatures would misuse it. So the Kanchukas were set on. And then the last step is what we are experiencing, where we have to fight our way through, let's just say different, through all the obstacles which were collectively made and make it quite demanding to clear, at least individually. So we make a new imprint. I think that's also covered now. And so we spoke about the lalana, but lalana is below the ajna. So even the ajna, if it has to manifest in you in a full-fledged version, then you have to understand that it is having a red lotus flower with 12 petals, and the 12 petals contain the concept of faith, contentment, sense of error, so that you recognize when you make an error, self-command, managed anger, affection, managed sorrow, managed dejection, purity, detachment, managed agitation, and desires and appetites in a manageable way. Now, if we are not yet in the position to be sure that we manage all this, then naturally we have to continue in our strive. And what is the good news? That we will not be allowed to go there in a full-fledged way up and until we do not realize, oh, some part of these 12 conditions are not yet fulfilled. So the Lana chakra is, you know, it's the uvula, and so seemingly unimportant, but there is a very important nadi going through it, and it goes through the whole body. Now, from the point of view of Shichakra sadhana, sorry, the Shachakra nirupana, it is called the Mukta Triveni. That means 3 of the nadis join there. But it doesn't mean that the Sushumna doesn't go further on, but it's a meeting place. And it is situated between 2 eyebrows. It has only 2 petals. It has no gross tattva, but the subtle mind is the buddhi. Now, the hakaratha, or the half letter of ha, is there because it says that only half of the actual revelation is still happening there. So in the pericarp, there is the bija om. And again, okay, sometimes it's a legal question. How should I know? How on earth can I recognize where is ajna? Well, there are practices which was defined actually by Swami Gitananda, the Brahmaja Bindu Dharana and Ajna Bindu Dharana. I will not detail it because that will take too much time. And you know, if I look at the clock, I see that already we are active nearly 1 hour. So, however, you know that during the process of manifesting the universe as we know it, and also the universe which we do not know, one of the first items are the issue of the 3 qualities, the sattva, rajas, and tamas. Why? Because that, again, it gives a scale that I know that if I'm too active or too passive, then I don't have the equilibrium. So again, every part of the system is having this mechanism. So just like, for example, there's a summer rain, and there is heavy loud happening there. So that means that the weather suddenly became too rajasic. But when it's over, then it comes again back to the balance, and it seems to be there. But when suddenly it becomes too warm, the sun is too drying, then again it is balanced. So depending on the point where we are on the earth, then we have always a sort of possibility to look at these 3 qualities in nature, and in us it is again the ajna. So the ajna, even when it's not fully functioning, it gives you a sort of intuitive indication, because the Vijnana kosha is dealing just with information processing. But the Ajna is from a different set of tattvas and can hint you, oh, that would not be the ideal. You could do this. But usually people, we all tend to be rational and say, no, 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 my logic is supporting only this model. And then we see, if I would have listened to that intuitive impulse, then that would be different. So, yeah, he says yes. I will have to, yes. Now, when we depart from the ajna, that means we already have secured the perception of the ajna, and suddenly we come to a point when we feel that we are no longer anchored in this physical type of world. So we lose, in fact, it's like a pratyahara. And so this is the one of the very interesting discoveries, that if we already recognize, yes, this is the feeling related to ajna, and I then relax even from that, I relax more, and suddenly I come to a position when I feel that at least something where this material world doesn't really appear in my view, which is the Niramba Puri. Now, again, higher means if I'm able to maintain consciousness and go higher up, we come to this Manipita idol made of gems. Now, what are the gems? They are the actual virtues of that person who is practicing the practice. And so, if the text says that this is a place where you sit down and meditate on the highest principle, doesn't mean that you have to sit down somewhere, but you are just being there and using the opportunity that is being given to relax and relax and relax. This is just the Gyananda Samhita is also having a similar concept. And if you are able to relax from further concepts, further feelings, then you get higher and higher. Now, so yes, this is something which is well done. Now, what do we need to arrive at a point which was pre-scheduled in case of the ajna? First of all, the Manas chakra, which is exactly the chakra which is testing you. Are you able to maintain perfect pratyahara or not? Why? Because the petals which are there, the 6 petals means the faculty of hearing, touch, sight, smell, taste, and sleep, or the absence of which. So what does it mean actually? So if you switch off the sleep and you still remain conscious, that means that you are actually on the level of the Niramba Puri, that yes, you are not conscious of the outer world, you are not conscious of the inner world, and so you are fit to go. Above this, you have the Soma chakra. Now, yes, if you happen to realize that, yes, I made some progress. I could really, for some time, to stay at this and this elevated state of mind or state of consciousness, which would be more appropriate. Then you have to look, what are the properties which are there defined on the petals of the Soma chakra? Well, mercy or grace, gentleness, patience, dispassion, constancy, prosperity, cheerfulness, thrill, sense of propriety, humility, meditation, beatitude, restfulness, gravity, enterprise or effort, emotionlessness, magnanimity, concentration. Now, what does it mean? So you cannot actually have any emotions? No, no. It means just that during meditation, you have to be able to maintain the state which is indicated in the Manas chakra. And if you do that, now all your already cleared obstacles, all the grantees, the blocks, all the infected, so to say, or yes, let's call it infected tattvas are healed. Then you are able to not have emotions regarding certain processes, because the emotions, again, they are very human, but in a higher state of meditation, it will bring you down, because if you have an emotional state, then usually you have to turn it towards some one or some process. Now, the Nirambapuri we have already mentioned, and also the island of gems, the altar of gems, the Manidipa, Manipita. And there are three, well, one sound and two syllables, the Akate and Ha. And what does it mean? Well, it is in fact a mantra. So if you need a little bit of support during this process, it is a support which comes from from the energy of these three letters. Then you can use this mantra. So now just to sum up. So you have the Soma, yes, and all the items up to the Sahasrara and above. So you see, even if you are reaching the Sahasrara and you end up with the usual goal of the yoga practitioners, but the structure of the universe is such that it's more complex than we may think. And so there are also other steps which are beyond the Sahasrara, but to speak about it is, it is like licking an ice cream through a wall of window. So how can we improve our chances to reach Sahasrara and above? Well, that we do in our life enough to decontaminate our tattvic structure, energy structure, information databases. And then we are giving big promises. And so we may think, okay, but yes, who knows whether it's not just a sort of PR from the point of view of medieval yogis, that they wanted to have more disciples, and so that they put all this. Well, the only way how we can test it is that we come to know not a yoga teacher somewhere, but a yogi. Now the yogi will not declare that, yes, I'm a yoga teacher, I have 10 courses, 500 plus, I have been studying this and that, this and that, this and that. No, a yogi, first of all, he would not really leave the place where he lives, because he has no intention to spread something. Why should one spread something? If someone has to get to know this yogi, surely somehow he will get to him. I can tell you a very simple story that in 1977 with a colleague of mine, miraculously, really, but that would take too much time to relate it to you. We reached India. We were invited to the Kumbh Mela, which at that time was exactly at Allahabad, like this year. And saw our guide, Suren Goyal, knew Prabhudatta Brahmachari was also a very, very interesting yogi, but very, very modest, very modest. because he said, well, if you want to meet my brother, you see, he never wrote any book because he wrote about 160 books, but on Bhakti Yoga. But he was proficient in everything, in Hatha Yoga, in every branch of yoga, and also in Ayurveda. And so one day, Nalin, his at that time assistant, was taking us down to the riverbank. We never heard about it. We have no idea to whom this Nalin is leading us. And so we looked up, huge trees full of vultures. You had to be careful because the droppings of the vultures, rather toxic, yes. And finally, we find ourselves before a sort of little hut on some bamboo legs, and a lot of people around. And when we arrived there, some person ran to this Nalin and told me that he's sorry, but Devra Baba is now withdrawing for a moment, and so we should wait. Now, I have to say that Surengoya knew the recipe, so after applying his recipe, suddenly the attendant ran to us, okay, come, and he was receiving us. Now, I have to say that up to now, even though I really can say that I met a number of very competent yogis, very great yogis, but for me, for my own perception, Devra Baba was the one who was teaching in such a way that you asked a question, if you consider it proper to not to give you just a banana or an orange as a response, but an answer, then his response would be that, look at me, you look at him, and suddenly the mechanism, for example, pranayama or meditation, starts evolving in you. Okay, that's not forever, but even he was speaking with someone who was still working. If I was not looking at him, it went down. So this is the type of yogi from whom we can take the examples, because there we can see on our own example that yes, it's not a sort of just teaching and theory and good advices and so on, because that's also necessary. I'm not telling you not. But if we would like to test the validity of these descriptions, then yes, we have to find one. You know, in 1980, I also was in India for a longer time, and a friend told me that not very far from Varanasi lives a yogi, but it's not known whether we meet him because he's always immersed in samadhi and he lives in ditches, which are very smelly. It used to be very smelly in India. And so that people do not approach him. Why? Because he was exactly experiencing this. Well, when I say experiencing, he was living in it. So if he would attempt to describe, if he would take the time, which most probably he wouldn't, then he would give a similar description. And he would then able to define, yes, this is how it manifests when your consciousness is conductive to this. When I say experience, it is not really true, as we said at the very beginning of the presentation, because an experience means that I'm still within approximately the same level of existence. I need inner senses, honor senses, and evaluator mechanisms, and I say, oh yes, I saw this, I have this experience. And exactly this should be usually the case. Why suddenly the experience disappear or this higher level of consciousness disappear? Because we are so surprised that we switch on the usual apparatus, the Manomaya Kosha, Vijnana Kosha, and they make an assumption. Oh, yes, yes, it's good. Yes. Oh, let's go in. Oh, yes, but next time. So why are the Manas and Soma chakra having these properties defined? Because if you are really settled with these properties, then you are able to stay there and not be surprised, and you just continue. So yes. Now in the Sri Chakra Sadhana level 8, the Sarva Siddhi Pada, which is the bestowal of all attainments, for which the Sahasrara chakra is responsible, they have a mantra. Has a rhyme, has a cream, has a roha. And this is the basic resonation which relates to its innermost experience, which is there, this black triangle, which is not black, you know, but we have to put some colors there. So the one is the bestower of life. Second is the bestower of attainments. And the Sahasrara is actually the gate towards the true attainment. And again, this is one thing which we can use if we are in difficulties. And you know, before we get this crown of jnana, which, however, it existed also in the historical times, this golden crown is from a tomb from the 1st century of AD. And you know, you see what you see, the three nadis, yes, and then you have the breaking up. So the person, it was very surprising to me that so to say, well, don't take me to word, but if a king was being crowned by this, he has to be also master of his senses, master of his mind, and so on and so on. Maybe it was just a wish, but this is what should have been done. So, because it's now already the time, I can only tell, I will just, yes, tell you that there is, sorry, I have to slip through because I would like to, yes, not even this, but yeah, this is it. So when we speak about the path of yoga, then usually you understand that we are still at Bhuloka, we are not rascals enough to get one level below us, the Nitambaloga. And so we have two ways. One is step by step, higher and higher up to the Janaloka. You know, Jana means people. So Janaloka is, according to the Indian tradition, the level of existence on which humans appeared. And so we know that level by level, Bhuloka, Bhuvaloka, up to the Tapoloka and Satyaloka, which is, however, not accessible to humans because why? Now look to the other things. We have the world of the firstborn and the world of the secondborn. What does it mean? Again, well, when we look at the cosmic images which we are given in Christianity, you have the angels, archangels, up to the cherubs, and the Indian system, you have the devas, the higher devas, and so on. So both levels have a system which tells that yes, at every level you have living beings, but basically what we are perceiving is only the second born, because you know who can compare himself or herself to a deva or to an archangel? First of all, again, we don't really know how to test. Even if he will, or even if an archangel will appear here, I would have to sense a very strong force field, and even then I can only guess that, yes, that was an archangel or a deva. So if a deva appears and I don't see him, I can guess only. But during meditation, and especially in case of those people who are more visual, and so they like to have a visual approval of what they experience, that for them it may be a reality. But the second-born one cannot really migrate into the realm of the first-born ones because it needs a different constitutions. So that's one thing. The second thing is that all the adherents of the Atma Vichara say that, yes, you go out into the unmanifested world. And there are very interesting stories about it. I would love to speak about them, but time doesn't really admit it that it's possible. But I can just remind you that what we can care about is to develop slowly, gradually, with patience, so that we are able to verify ourselves the perception. And if we are unsatisfied with our perception, then we can go to India or China or Japan or the unexplored parts of Tibet, because in Tibet, even now, there are regions which have very nice traditions with great masters. So, and try to verify yourself, because usually the yogis, as I already said, they would offer you means how to achieve this realization and how to verify your realization. So with this, I would like to bring to a close this late afternoon presentation, and would love to answer if there is any question.
Thank you very much, Geza, for this presentation. And with that, I would like to open the floor for questions. So if you have a question, yes, please just unmute yourself. Patricia, you go first.
Thank you very much. Gezaji, I'd just like to understand better the concept of the confluence of the three main nadis, because you also mentioned that Shushumna is sort of, while when we're speaking of the human body, it ends at the Sahasrara place. I'm asking this because in one of the books of Swami Veda Bharati, there was a note which was not very clear to me, that actually the three main nadis have a confluence. The word prayak was used in the upper part of the sorry, I can't remember the name in English. This forehead. So it was like somewhere in the upper part of the forehead. So can you please expand on this? It's a detail comparing, of course, to what has been said, but it would be good for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the question. Now, you see, Swami Veda Bharati was the master of meditation, so really he was an extraordinary yogi. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But the Shachaka Nirupana speaks that at the point of Ajna, the Ida Pingala and Sushumna meet. It doesn't say that this is the end, because it goes to the right and left nostril, but it means only that when we want to understand the workings of the nadi, about which we didn't have much time to speak about. So if something meets, it doesn't mean that crosses. So for example, if they are picturing the backbone and the sushumna, they use this zigzag imaging, which would mean that sometimes it's Ida, sometimes it's Pingala, sometimes Ida, sometimes no. They just meet, yes, at the points of chakra, but it doesn't mean that in other areas they are not meeting again. Now, why are they meeting? Because they have to come to a point where the Ida and the Pingala united with the Sushumna brings, it's like these Tamas Rajas and the Sattva together, so it keeps them still. Now, stillness means the mind is prepared for getting elevated higher and higher. If we relax from everything which is not equilibrium in the yogic sense. So the two chakras, the Manas and Soma, actually give us a sort of directive. Now, whether they are meeting also higher up, I would say yes. Because after all, it's always said, yes, there are some secret continuation here, secret continuation there. And why do they consider it secret? First of all, because it's not so easy to recognize for one. Second, because it doesn't really do good to people if they try, like if you open a Hatha Yoga book, quite a number of people start with the most difficult asana, and then it comes to the less difficult. So that's not applicable. So except for some very rare manuscripts like the Shachakra Nirupana, it is not detailed. So just return back to your question. This junction and next junction is always a point which has to bring into complete harmony of the two tendencies plus the three, which is the equilibrium.
Thank you very much, Geza. Now we have received a question via chat. Sabolch is asking, what is Rudra Chakra?
Rudra Chakra is the lalana, which is the uvula at the end of the soft palate. So,
thank you very much.
Yes.
So anyone else would like to ask a question?
Yeah, I would also like to.
Please, Ákos, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, thank you for this amazing presentation, Geza ji. My question is, why some sources emphasizing that the transition from the Ajna to the Sahasrara is something that is automatic and cannot be forced by individual effort?
Because that's right. It cannot be forced. It has to happen. You cannot willfully say, no, I will pierce all these chakras, and in a moment I will be at the Sahasrara and beyond, because I would like to be beyond. No. Yes, this is what I try to convey, that yes, you have to be able to balance, again to balance even more, but you are not actually pushing yourself up. You are allowing it to happen.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, both for the question and the answer.
I have one question. It's Denisa. Sorry, I'll turn the camera on as well. Geza, I have a question. The way how I understand this transition from Ajna to Sahasrara is that there is really a necessity to have this jump into unknown, like really release everything, and it comes with I would say a lot of fear, or some fear. How is it possible to do that?
Well, basically, it's very easy, but practically it's very difficult. And this is why it is designed in such a way that it is small step by small step by small. So I get used to it. I know less and less of the environment. I know less and less of everything which I knew. And then at one point, which is the Sahasrara, suddenly it's all vanishing. So There is no other way just to practice. And now fear. Now, what can we lose? You know, it is like, as I said, what is the danger that I will be drawn if I suddenly discover that my individual being is just nothing and I'm always at this infinite consciousness. Oh, yes, disaster. Yeah, but this is the usual feeling because I have to let go everything which I know. But then again, Shraddha was one of the principles which have to be familiar with and able to implement, so that, okay, if we are at the level of the Nirarambha Puri, we already have the this feeling that now I have really to let go the other perceptions, whatever elevated perceptions are there. And one then gets used. Now, another help is if there is a yogi who would be your guide. That means you can also always find out that, oh, please help, I now am in a problem because I'm afraid to close this thing because I cannot breathe, I cannot see what to do. What's the next step? There is no problem, just go. Do not make any problem of this. If you can do it, then you are not yet right for this. But it's nice that you know that there is a way. So, you know, some cold water bath or meditation, cold water will not help, even though it helps to make the body robust and the mind also. But yes, practice is very important in this point, because whether we can reach it in this life, some next life, it is a question to be answered. And we are given the answer only when we breathe out. For the last time, you see, today when I had the yoga class, one lady asked, because at the end of pranayama, that, excuse me, but see, what type of pranayama, what type of ujjayi pranayama would you recommend to get asleep? I said, well, definitely not with the bandhas, because we did it with Uddiyana Bandha, but just continue with this exhalation up to the point that you get asleep. But I said, it's not the really last exhalation. This is the last of which you are conscious. So this is also like here, you see that there is no actual method which would make it very easily available, especially because we have some dispositions that, for example, we prefer pleasant things before unpleasant things. But the old yogis, how did they train themselves? That they prefer the unpleasant things before pleasant things. Why? Because it was an investment into the future. That if you endure willfully to so many unpleasant things, but of course not random, but for example, you meditate for 1 year at one place, and so on and so on and so on, then there is no way how to deny from you the diagnosis that yes, you have cleared that and that much of your tattvic and other structures, so now you may go.
Gezaji, we have received another question via chat. And
Yes.
it goes, can you balance the chakras through chanting and detach that way from what we believe to know?
Well, if the person means mantra recitation, then yes. But if it is a bhajan, bhajan is basically emotion-oriented area. It's like I heard today that politics is also 80% emotions and 20% of facts. So it is like here that if you are singing and tuning to the melody of the mantra, yes, indeed, I mean, it will do good to you. But in order to and I'm not speaking about the balancing the chakras. I'm speaking about the balancing of the energy system, of the tattvic system. Then you have to use the Vedic ways of recitation of the mantras, whichever mantra will you choose for your practice. And I
hope that answers the question.
I just wanted to add, you see, one little thing that when I say politics, our life is also directed by our life policy. So what do we achieve? What do we want to achieve? What is our relation to this and that? So I didn't mean it in a derogative sense, just that Bhakti Yogi approach is mostly going through positive emotions. That was it.
Are there more questions here in the room?
Yeah, there is something in my mind. Just I feel I'm unable to phrase it, but let's make a try. So there was an image Geza G with title "The Way from Soma to Sahasrara."
Yes.
With many items, and I was just thinking about. Yeah, thank you. That our chakras are related to or can be connected to lokas, and around the middle of this enumeration there is the Sahasrara, and I'm wondering where those items above are connected, if the Sahasrara is related to the highest loka.
Can you rephrase it so that I can understand it? Perhaps it will be.
Yeah, I will try to. Okay, so here is this image, and around the middle there is the Sahasrara.
Yes.
This is one thing, and the other thing that our chakras are can be say they are connected to lokas.
Yes.
Okay, and above the Sahasrara chakra, there are some items, and I'm wondering that are they also can be say they are connected to higher lokas over the seven?
No. You see, our chakras lead us through the main points. That means up to the Janaloka, and then we would have to cross a very difficult thing if we would like to relate existentially with the Tapoloka and the Satyaloka. So that would be really something which would require a lot of eons of very diligent practice. So here it is not related to existential levels as in case of the chakras up to the Vishuddha and eventually up to Sahasrara, but it is the existential states. So if we relate to the last image, which you may remember so that I don't have to scroll down, then you can have this position that you, so to say, leave this manifested world and become unmanifested. But even though there is a lot of mysteries, because how is it that a yogi who is telling you, and he's a trustworthy person, that where should I go before his death? I'm always the same. Okay, but I see that his body is dying, he's dead, and still, although I can feel his influence, but I can't see him. And he's telling that he is simultaneously outside and simultaneously tied in out of compassion that all the people who come at this place can get a little bit of inspiration for this journey. So I'm not telling that anyone, including myself, can know the perfect recipe how to understand everything which the yogis were describing. But one thing is sure, that above the Sahasrara, we are not really speaking about the, for example, the realm of the firstborn. We could have, but the tradition doesn't mention it. And we also do not speak about the unmanifested world, because we see that, yes, there are some manifested aspects. Bliss, nirvana kala, paramanirvana shakti. So it is something which on a higher level should be something with which I can identify, whether it is a feeling or not feeling, or consciousness blending, or how to call it. This is a good question, but you see, I would offer you a very nice solution that you should try.
Okay. Maybe tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah, please, as soon as possible.
Now I have a question. Will you be so kind and share this presentation with us so we can send it as PDF to the participants if they're interested in?
Definitely, yes, of course.
Okay, thank you very much. So alongside with the recordings, you can also expect to receive the presentation, so you can study all the slides at home, and that may then raise a couple more questions. So in that case, how to proceed?
Well, ask the question.
Well, if participants can contact you, maybe if they encounter more questions, problems on the way.
Well, at the title page, I'm sorry, I have to try to go up. And then at the very first page, there is the web page, which actually contains the, yeah. So if they open this web page, timcak.saj.sk, then there is also my email contact, so they can write an email, and that's it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. That's very
You're
kind
most
of you.
welcome. Thank you.
So if there are no more questions from the room, I would like to thank you one more time, dear Geza, for your presentation, for your patience, and for sharing this knowledge and wisdom with us. And one more closing note from the EY. I would like to invite everybody to the Congress that I already mentioned in the very beginning, to the 52nd European Yoga Congress in Zinal, Switzerland, which will take place between the 17th and the 22nd of August 2025. Registration is already open. If you register soon, you will for sure catch the early bird prize, because then later towards summer the prices will go higher. So I highly recommend to register as soon as possible. I also hope to see you at the next events of the spirituality program. And if you consider this knowledge that was shared today worth a little donation, then please do so on the website of the European Union of Yoga. There is a button, donate. Thank you, everybody, for
it
your...
doesn't go to my account, but to the EU.
No, no, not to Geza's account, but to the organizer's account, to the account of the European Union of Yoga. And thank you, Geza, once again to allow us to organize this series of events for your participation, everybody, and hopefully see you soon again.
Thank you very
Wishing
much.
you a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You.
I'm not sure if you can see the chat, Gezaji, but there are many messages thanking you.
Oh.